Hi, and welcome to Time We Create, a podcast where I share behind the scenes of starting and growing my creative business, but at the same time, keeping up with everything else in my life, like my hobbies, my family, sports, and everything else, and also being a mom and how to keep creating in all that out. Today, I have wonderful guest, Kim, the founder of the Holistic Photographer. And Kim offers personal branding photography for holistic business owners. And she captures the essence of who the practitioner is and what is that they are offering. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. Okay. Hi, Kim.
Hi. Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Thank you for coming. Can you please introduce yourself, share a bit more about what you are doing, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, as you said, my name is Kim, and I am a mother of two children, an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old. Um, I'm fully self-employed, and I go by the holistic photographer. So I moved into photography only around 2 years ago. Completely self-taught. I kind of taught myself while I was working my full-time job. And it just worked. It's just something that I'm very good at, and it just comes naturally, and I enjoy. It's a passion. I was really excited to take a leap into doing this and offering this full time. Um, Big change for me. I've always worked in the corporate world since I was 16. It was a big change, but I love it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Um, how did you decide? How did you start, and how do you decide to make this leap? So you mentioned that you are working in corporate for quite a while. It's really a
Yeah,
huge change.
yeah. It was a huge change. So, for 17 years, I was working in the corporate world. So I was very much conditioned to work in a very process driven environment. And I felt quite safe, that they made me feel safe, actually. I think when you work in corporate, you have all of these extras. So you have extra healthcare and support if you're ill. But when I really, as I grew older and I became a mom, especially the second time round, Eloise is only 2. So that was a very different experience for me. Um, and actually, after I had Eloise and I went on maternity leave, I started to really feel into how I was living and how I was working, and actually what was my job offering me. Um, and it became very clear that there was this almost like a cloud of they made it seem safe, but actually I didn't feel safe in my job. It was a really, really strange feeling and like epiphany I had when I was on maternity leave. um and I knew that I wanted to do something different. I always had a bit of an inkling that I wanted to be self-employed, but I didn't quite know what I was going to do. When I started doing photography, it was only for a hobby. My partner brought me a camera one Christmas, and he just said, go out and have some fun, because I wasn't doing anything creative. I was very career driven. I was an executive assistant for a CEO. I was working with higher management for a very, very long time. So, very stressful job. Um, I was going above and beyond. I was working over my hours. All of the nasty traps that we can fall into, I was doing it, and I was definitely putting my work before my family. He brought me the camera and he was like, "You need to go and explore, get creative, find some rest, some space from this." So I started to take photos of landscapes, which was nice, but I got a bit bored. I was like, no, I need to work with people. So I did a few model calls locally to see if anybody wanted a free shoot so I could get some practice in. And it went really well, really well. I loved it. I just knew straight away. I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I need to do. And then I was approached by a lady to capture her wedding. And bearing in mind, I'd only been doing photography for about I hadn't even been doing it properly. I'd only been doing it for about 6 months. I was really, really new, really new. And she was like, I haven't got the money for a professional photographer. Would you like to come and capture it? And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, because we knew that, like, we managed expectations. And I captured it, and I look back at it now and I'm like, oh no, it's awful. But do you know what? She loved the photos, and she had someone there to capture her day. And I did capture the day and the emotion. I just look back at the editing now and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? But it went well and she was happy. And then I got the bug and I was like, no, I need to do this. So then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do some cheaper weddings. I'm going to build my portfolio. And it just snowballed from there, really. And then I landed into like mainstream photography. So I would go to nurseries and do like the Christmas shoots, the Easter shoot. I do couple shoots, weddings. I still do weddings to this day. I'm just a lot better at them now than my first one. But also alongside all of this happening, for the last kind of 5 to 6 years, I've also been going on a very spiritual journey with myself, so a healing journey. And I've done a lot of shamanic work. And I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing holistic practitioners. And I had a shamanic healer that reached out to me that I'd worked with for a long time. And she said, Kim, I love your photography. I want you to come and take some photos of me. I need to update my website. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. Really nervous because she was a very important person in my life. And I didn't want to let her down. And we did the shoot and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. And something just completely landed with me. And I was like, wow, this is what I need to do. I need to align my spiritual life, my spiritual side, my holistic side, align it with my passion of photography. And that's when the two merged together. So that's when I created the holistic photographer. And it's just, I'm living the dream at the minute. I love it. I love my job.
That's wonderful to hear. And it's also so important to hear that sometimes it takes a bit of experimentation, a bit of trying different fields. And when you know it's yours, it's yours. And then, it all snowballs very quickly when you know it's yours. Yeah, thank you for sharing this.
Yeah.
Can you please share a bit more about how do you go about the photo shoot with your clients? How do you prepare and how do you make your clients feel comfortable? Because working with holistic practitioners, it's something that is quite, I would say, personal. It's something that they open up or where they share they share a lot of personal things. And of course, all the holistic practitioners, they are someone who needs to show their personality as well as their expertise. So how do you go about it?
So I feel very lucky, actually, that I had such a history in the corporate world, because that has given me an amazing toolbox to run my business and create a customer journey that I know it works. So I feel lucky in that sense that I've been able to still bring, even though there's a lot of pain there, I still bring things over because there's things that I can use to create that positive customer journey. Because holistic coaches and wellnesses and practitioners and healers and medicine people, they are still a business. They still have to make money. They still have to market themselves and put themselves out there. So the beautiful balance that I found is being able to bring the tools from the corporate world and the personal tools that I have. So holding space for people. I hold women's circles as well. And I do shamanic healing myself. So I'm able to hold a space for somebody, and I'm quite a nurturing person. I can make them feel very comfortable. So bringing those together works really well for holistic practitioners because they need the balance. They need the two. And I always say to my clients that I speak to, there are incredible photographers out there. There are so many amazing photographers. However, there are only a certain amount of photographers that would be able to step into your space, understand the space, and hold that for you as well. So I'm very aware of the space that I'm going into with my clients. So I'm stepping into maybe a studio space or a sanctuary type space where they do a lot of heavy energy work. They do a lot of healing. And essentially, I'm taking a piece of technology into that space, which can feel a little bit, out of balance sometimes. So again, there's things that I do in my practice that I share with my clients, such as when I'm preparing my cameras and my lenses and my gear to go to the shoot. I will sage my gear, I will cleanse that, ready to go into the space. When I step into the space, I kind of give thanks, for allowing us to be here and capture this magic. So when I work with a client, I make it very clear that this is how I work. It's not just about me showing up with a camera and a checklist. It's about feeling into, actually, this is a sacred space, so we're going to treat it that way. So my customer journey is very interesting because it has that mix of both elements, really. So before the shoot, we do some planning, and I issue my clients with a workbook, and it's full of prompts and questions for them to ask themselves about their business and their offerings and how they put this out into the world. Many of the people that I work with are incredible at healing and incredible at what they do, but they don't know how to do the marketing. They don't know how to do social media, or they want to get better at it. So this is a really good opportunity for them to just take a step back and reflect on, what am I trying to offer to the world here? How can I make money from what I do? How can I reach my ideal client? So lots of questions around their brand clarity, really. And then once the workbook is complete, we have time together over Zoom, where we get to know each other, and we look at their workbook and we have open conversations about what they've put in there, which again is an amazing reflection exercise, because again, we don't often speak to people about our businesses. We keep it quite close to our chest sometimes because we're so passionate about our business. And when you're in an office, for example, and you're sharing ideas, there's usually lots of people around you accessible to speak and have those conversations with. But when you're self-employed, it's quite isolating. So you don't always have people to turn to. So these are really useful conversations to have. And then we plan the shoot. So obviously we leave room for creative space on the day, but we do plan the shoot, the logistics. What time are we going to get there? How long are we going to spend in nature? How long is it going to take us to get back to your space? Things like this. And then on the day of the shoot, again, it's quite magical because I don't just kind of rock up and go, right, let's go. We feel into the space and what we need to do. So it might be that we do a grounding exercise before we start, or a meditation. And we just go into it very gently. And then we just create magic. So we use our plan that we've put together, but also we feel into the energy of the day, because that can change. We've done the plan 2 weeks prior, so things can change. Something else I'm very passionate about is women's natural cycles as well. So whether they have a natural menstrual cycle, or whether they're perimenopausal or going through menopause and they cycle with the moon, throughout the month their energy can change. So we always plan the shoot at a time of the month where they feel they're most confident. They feel that like they've got that outward energy to give. And it may be that on the day that I turn up to the shoot, their energy might be different to how we thought it would be. So again, these are all very, very mindful things that we take into consideration during our time together. And by doing this, when I take the photos and we have that final gallery, it creates a real wow moment. It's like, oh, that was like pure authentic moments, connection, that my client is super comfortable. They feel like the space has been held for them. They feel nurtured. And it's very, very special. So I just feel very lucky that I've been able to kind of bring the two things together and balance them out a little bit.
So this sounds very, very interesting. And thank you for sharing this.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, have you ever had a situation when, on the shooting day, you or your client didn't feel like doing the whole photography thing, doing the whole shoot? And what's the best way to support from both sides, really? Because I know I also film videos, and I know that sometimes you just wake up and you just don't feel it. Like you don't want to.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I've not had an experience where my client isn't ready for the shoot, because I tend to put a lot out there to get them ready, to prepare them. However, I do completely relate to what you're saying. And some days we wake up and we're not in the right frame of mind to do what we need to do, especially as creatives. We have to be very grounded, actually, to be able to think about all of these ideas. And I have attended shoots before where I haven't felt 100% myself. Maybe I've been tired or poorly. And I never let my client down, because it takes a lot of work to organise a date, make sure their diary is free. However, what I try to do is just reassure myself that actually I can do I'm good at what I do. Basically, it takes a lot for me to say that, because it feels quite, oh, you're a bit full of yourself. But actually, I've really had to feel into that, because I've got nobody around me giving me appraisals anymore. I've got no managers saying you're doing really well, keep going. I'm having to give that to myself, and I have to do that to myself on the day. If I was really feeling, no, I can't do this, I probably would postpone the shoot. But actually, usually when I get into it, I start to get into it, and I enter this space where, so nothing else matters. Nothing else matters at all. And I make it happen. And I do come away from shoots sometimes and think, oh, I could have done better. And I'm worried about looking at the images, and I might even put off looking at them for a few days. Whereas other shoots, I come home and I'm like, upload them straight away and let's see. But actually, when I look at the images, every time I'm like, wow, yeah, we did it. It's perfect. So it's just about having that trust in myself, that even on those days, I just need to keep telling myself, I can do this. It's going to be okay. And trust in that. And yeah, it's worked out okay so far, touch wood.
Thank you for sharing. I think it's absolutely relatable from my perspective as well, because I know that when I was working in corporate, I had like monthly meeting with my manager. So, okay, you are doing this right, and this is wrong, and this is how you can improve. But now you have to cheer you up yourself, and yeah, it really helps to feel a bit better on the low days, and it also something transferable from corporate, that you are professional. So as soon as you get into the flow of, for me, it's filming, for his photography, it gets easier, and yeah, it's a bit of professionalism and also getting into the flow.
Definitely.
Something that I also can relate is something that I mentioned in the very beginning, that when you looked at your first photo shoot, like wedding photo shoot, you feel like, oh my goodness, how now I could do so much better. So
Yeah.
and yeah, that's something I can absolutely relate. I cringe every time I watch my like old videos or something I created a long time ago.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, and I was wondering if at some point, or maybe even now, you had any sort of um, imposter syndrome, when you think that, oh, who am I for going there and doing this, or I can't do this. Like, how did you have it, and how do you deal with it?
Imposter syndrome for me is huge. Like, I deal with it on a daily basis to some extent. Some days it's more prevalent. Some days I can kind of gently just guide it away and I can just get on with my day. But sometimes it can be it can just stop me in my tracks, and I will have to take myself away from my computer, from my work, and just rest. And then I usually lean on my partner and I'm like, please just tell me I'm good enough to do this. I have all of those thoughts. Sending a gallery to a client, and I'm sure you're the same, when you send that final creation to your client, I feel sick every time, and I do this all the time now, but I still feel sick because I'm imposter syndrome makes you feel like you're a fake. That's what it is. It makes you feel, why I can't be doing this? Why am I charging people to do this? So my imposter syndrome is waiting for a client to contact me and say, I'm shocked at what you've sent me. This is horrific. It's not happened, and it's not going to happen, because I know what I send to my clients is very high quality, and it's all created with love as well. It's not coming from a fake place. It's coming from a very authentic place. I wouldn't offer this service if I wasn't confident that I couldn't do it. However, imposter syndrome is always going to be there, like behind you, giving you these doubts. So yeah, I can completely relate to that. I think I feel it more, again, because I work with my cycles. I feel it more at certain points of the month. So I can kind of preempt when I'm going to feel a little bit sensitive to things. So what I do is I work which is another beautiful thing about being self-employed, I arrange my work around my cycle. So during my summer, my inner summer, which would be my ovulation, I can feel quite outgoing, very social. So that's the time of the month when I will put lots of availability for discovery calls, because I'm very confident, I'm very willing to have calls with clients. And then during the other side of my cycle, during my bleed, I don't want to speak to clients. I'm not as confident as I usually am. I start to have imposter syndrome quite severely. My confidence drops. So I take myself away from a client facing role, and I tend to kind of just get comfortable at home, work on my social media, prepare my content for the following months. So things that I can still do that are productive for my business, but they work for me at that time. Because if I was to have a lot of client calls during that time where I'm not feeling confident, it's just not going to work for me. And I love this. This is what I love about being self-employed, because when you work in an office, you can't do this. It's the grind constantly. You have to show up for meetings. You have to show up every day. Nobody cares what part of your cycle you're on. So to be able to actually work with my cycle and make that work for me and my business, it's improved my well-being, my mental health. And I have found that the more that I've done that, my imposter syndrome also reduces, because I'm not fighting against my imposter syndrome now. I'm working with it. So it's working quite well. But yeah, I feel it definitely. I think for me as well, when I exchange money, when I send an invoice and I receive that payment, that for me is a big, oh, are you sure you can do this? You've received a lot of money from this client. Like, that's still a bit of a sensitive, like, oh, uncomfortable for me. So I'm still feeling into that. But yeah, it's very much there.
Well, thank you for sharing. And you mentioned that as a creative person, as someone who is creative in their business and for their business and for other businesses as well, it's really important to be energetic, to be grounded. How do you go about it yourself? How do you recharge when you feel like you need, or is it like a practice that you do regularly? And can you share this?
Yeah, so it's definitely a practice. And I love the word practice, because it's really important to remember that, you don't always do it every day. Life doesn't work that way, especially with children. Some mornings I can wake up and feel completely prepared for the day. I have time to put my makeup on. I have time to get my desk ready and clear my space. I usually come down and use Sage and clear my workspace and just bring in lots of good intentions for the day. Because I'm the only person that can start my day right. If I do that, then I tend to have a very positive day. But obviously, I've got children, so that can change. My 11-year-old is just about to transition into secondary school. He's also autistic, so we have lots of challenges around that. I also have a 2-year-old, so that's just exhausting. There's no other word for that. So obviously, when my children wake up, if we have a stressful morning before school, that can impact the rest of my day. And especially working in the house as well, I can't move away from that energy. I think when I look back at when I worked in an office, if I had a bad morning, I would have at least had the car ride to work where I could have played some music and maybe decompressed a bit before I got to work. But when you're in the house, you're still very much in that energy, and you remember what's happened that morning. So for me, I tend to go outside and just get some fresh air, cleanse my space always, put my candles on, make my space feel special. Even if I'm just sitting at my computer to do a few emails for the day, I treat it as a very special place because it just helps me really get grounded and just think, you know what, this is my baby, this is my passion, this is all me. So it just makes it feel that little bit more special. And I think as well, I keep going back to my cycle, but again, that's important because if I find that I rest when I need to rest during my cycle, then the remainder of my month, I've got that energy there to be creative, and to give that energy outwards to people as well. So it's been really hard finding my rhythm because we've all got a different rhythm. Really difficult, especially when you're so used to Monday to Friday 9 till 5. It's difficult, but I'm slowly getting there, which is nice.
Kim, you mentioned that you are working from home and you also have children, and it's another level of of everything that's going on in your life. And I was wondering, how do you have any tips or something that was game changing for you when it comes to how you run your business, when it comes to how you plan your day, or something that helped you to get better results or feel better in what you are doing?
Yeah, so for me, it was an investment that I made, and it was an investment for a business coach. And I was quite reluctant to do this because I'm a very stubborn person. And I was like, no, I can do this. I don't need to spend the money on a business coach. I don't. But actually, since I have done that, I don't feel as isolated. I don't feel alone. I feel like it's added a level of accountability for me as well, because she checks in with me and she's like, have you done this? Have you, why haven't you gone live? Why haven't you gone live with that lead magnet? Do it. And it stops me from procrastinating. So definitely the investment that I made into having a business coach has been incredible. So I would highly recommend that, as long as you find the right person. It has to be the right person. So that's really helped me because I lacked a little bit of direction before I started working with her. And I don't work with her directly one-to-one. It's in a group setting, so it's part of a membership group. But I still take a lot away from that because, again, for me, I struggled with being isolated and being stuck in my own head all the time, and it just takes that pressure away. I know if I want to have a rant about something or share like successes and wins as well, I had no one to be like, yes, I've done this, I've done really well. It was just me on my own in my living room. So now I can share those with my group, the other photographers that work with the same business mentor, and they're like my biggest cheerleaders. So it's really nice to be able to have people to lean on, who get it, who can support me, definitely. And I think with when I think about working with my children as well, again, the beauty of working self-employed is that you can work your hours around your children. And at the beginning, I was so focused on making this work because I was so scared about it not working. My fear was, this isn't going to work. You're going to end up in an office again. And I think I would be physically ill if I ended up in that world again for me, just because it doesn't align with me. So my fear was that this was going to fail. So all of my energy I was putting into my business. And that meant that I wasn't spending time with my children. So my partner was confused. My partner was like, well, you've stepped away from that because you're not present, in your personal life. And now you've gone so far the other way. So again, for me, it was about finding the balance and trusting the process, trusting that I didn't have to work every hour of every day to make this work, trusting that it would unfold quite naturally. And I had to take a step back and spend time with my children. So now I'm still practicing that. It doesn't come naturally to me because I do love to work as well. So I have to be very mindful about taking a step back. And if my little girl comes up and grabs my hand and pulls me to play, even if I'm in the middle of something, and I do get hyper focused. So I like to just, do what I'm doing. But if I'm in the middle of editing and she grabs me, I'll just go with her. I won't even question it. I'll just go with her and spend that time with her, because this is exactly why I did it. This is why I wanted to run my own business. So I had the freedom to be with my children and my partner and enjoy life a bit more and find that balance. So yeah, my biggest tip would be, like, the emails will be there like later on for you. Go and play with your children and have some fun. You'll feel better and you'll be in a better place for when you come back to your work afterwards.
Yeah, this is so true, and it's I think it's a skill that you have to learn, because it's definitely because we all start our small businesses. At least we start as small businesses usually because of from the place of passion and interest, so we can work on it like day in and day out, and just focus on what we are doing. And it's important to step back a little bit and to enjoy other parts of our lives as well. So
Oh, well, definitely.
one. Now, and there's something that you mentioned about having someone to cheer you up. It's very important. I was working in corporate before starting my videography business as well, and I didn't realize. I heard a lot of people saying that, oh, when you are starting your business, you can feel lonely, and I didn't understand this, because I was like, how can you feel lonely? But then I understood. But then you started to get it. You started to get it. And I think the very important part is to have this community around you, someone who you can talk through the struggles, they can understand. It can be a mentor who can just get into a pit with you and get you out of it, or it can be networking as well with other businesses who either have been through the situation or they are in the similar situation, and you can just talk through it and just get it out of your mind, because it's so important to discuss.
It is, definitely. And there's so many Facebook groups out there now as well. And I think that's how I came across you in a Facebook group, Moms in Business. Because there are so many of us that are embarking on this journey, and you do go in a little bit blind. We don't know what to expect. It's the unknown. So it is lovely to just, especially to speak to other moms or, single parents, or just to know that it's hard. It's just so hard. But we're all experiencing it, and it's all normal to experience it. So yeah, definitely important.
Especially now when we exposed to so much of social media, where we see a lot of times we see quite polished looks of what's going on. We see successes, and it's important to share successes, but it's also sometimes important to see the other side when we are struggling, and sometimes just sharing or just reading that someone um, has been through the struggles to really support it.
Definitely. And I feel quite lucky actually that my clients are working from a very authentic place. So actually, when I follow their social media on Instagram, for example, it's not all polished and amazing and look at me, I'm on a boat, I'm on holiday again. It's also the grit of life and actually the struggles, and they're very authentic and honest and open because that's the work that they do. They have to show up for themselves to be able to show up for other people. However, social media for me, I find it very hard because I get sucked into that. Oh, why am I not achieving that? Why am I not doing that? They're on holiday again with their family. We haven't had a holiday in 2 years. I get sucked into it. So I feel blessed that I don't have to see that every day, but I can understand the struggle for people that work with maybe their clients, do have more of a polished look on Instagram or Facebook. And yeah, it can be so hard. Yeah, it can be so hard. But like you said, I think people do want to see that vulnerability from each other as well, because that's what makes us real and that's what makes us relatable to each other. Because if you know that if somebody comes across as perfect all the time, that's not real. And then it puts me off working with people. I think, well, I don't, are they authentic? I want to know that they're having a bad day, not because I want them to have a bad day, but I just want to know that they're real and they've woke up and they've had a rough morning with the kids, but they're cracking on. I love that because it's all relatable content. So that's definitely really important.
That's so true. I was wondering, how do you, so from the other side of business, how do you market your business? How do you get your clients? Is it through word of mouth? Is it the social media? Do you go to like events? What's your
Yeah,
side of
so
this?
I'm so at the minute for me, Instagram is my strongest like marketing pillar, because I think it's based on images, isn't it? So it's very easy for me to share my images. Um, I'm very wary though of just sharing my images. I also like to create useful content of value to people. I want people to see that I am the holistic photographer. So as well as being a photographer, I also live in this very holistic space where I'm spiritually aligned. I understand the work that they do, because for me, that connection is very important. That's how I attract my ideal client. Um, a lot of it is through word of mouth, which is brilliant. I think that's the most powerful tool. If people are shouting about you, then amazing. And I also do some networking events, and I actually run my own local networking event for women as well. So there's a few ways that I'm kind of trying to get out there and putting myself out there, as well as helping people. That's very important to me. So, for example, when I started up my networking event, it wasn't just a tool for me to shout about myself. I'm very good at kind of like the background of running a business, and I wanted to help people because I noticed there were lots of local people struggling. So that's kind of my way of giving back to the community. That's a non-profit thing that I do. So yeah, for me, it's definitely Instagram would be the biggest, and it's good because it enables me to plan my content ahead of time, but also I can post things in real time by using stories. I think stories are very powerful because it's like quick fire insight into you and who you are. And people always look at stories. So I think I find that I attract people maybe through my stories, and then people kind of land on my page and go, "Oh, this looks interesting." But yeah, this is probably the most difficult thing that I've had to do. And it's also the most important thing, marketing myself. If I had to market you, for example, amazing, I could do that all day long. But when you have to market yourself, you're putting yourself out there, and there's lots of, again, imposter syndrome comes in, because you think you can't shout about yourself. When I was younger, I may have been told, don't show off, don't be too big for your own boots. So you're always told to be small. So when you have to be big and take up space, it's very uncomfortable. So that's something that I've struggled with. But again, working with my business mentor, she's really pushed me to do it, and I have. I've just gone, "Do you know what? I'm just going to go out there and do it. I've got to." So I'm doing lives now. I would never have done a live before. I'm doing lives on my Facebook and Instagram. I'm doing some like guest speaking. I'm doing podcasts. So all of these things, they all help and help provide people with an insight into who I am. And I'm also writing my first book as well. I'm a co-author on a book, which is going to be released later this year. So, these are all things that they're tiny things that are allowing me to take up more space as the year goes on. So it's small steps, but taking up big space. I think that's the key.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that we had such a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed. I had so many moments when I was like, aha, that's me as well. Like when you were speaking, I was like, oh yes, I was thinking the same thing. And
That's
thank you so
amazing.
much for your insights. It's very, it's really so relieving to talk to someone who also is in a creative business, who is doing their steps to show more of themselves on social media, to get a little bit out of the comfort zone as well. And I know it's all the little steps. And I experienced that it's not like the huge steps that you have to make. It's like a little steps. Like today I'm going to post a story. Tomorrow I will post not a photo but a video in my story. The next day I can do a live. And it's like it's not something a huge thing, but it's little steps that can help you to achieve huge results.
Definitely. Totally agree with that. Thank
you
you
so much for joining the podcast, and thank you for sharing your experience. And I'm really glad you came here.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.